here to talk to us now about why that mask mandate was put in place and the county's entire response to COVID-19 as it stands at this moment in time is Oakland County Executive David Coulter, who joins us now on the MegaCast. Dave, thanks for being with us today.
Tyler, great to be with you this morning. Thanks.
Appreciate having you on. So my first question for you is probably something you're being asked by a lot of people here in Oakland County, and it's a very broad question. Why was this mask mandate put in place? Where did that decision ultimately come from, and why now?
Ultimately, the decision comes from our public health officer in Oakland County. This is a health order, not a political order or a government edict. This is a health order from the health department. But as you probably know, the health department also reports to the county executive. So we track these numbers together. I take advice from them. I lean in on the science of what these public health experts know. But we do discuss these orders together, and I am certainly 100% supportive of the mask order that they instituted. Now, the simple reason that we needed a mask order is because we have another surge of COVID in Oakland County, which is very disappointing to me because just a couple of months ago, we had reached our goal of 70% plus of eligible adults in Oakland County that got vaccinated. We're one of the highest counties in the state. I think we're the second highest county behind a small county up north. So we reached the vaccination stage that we hoped to get to, but the Delta variant didn't care. And so the Delta variant, which is the primary variant being transmitted in Oakland County today, is wiping through our county again. You could call it the fourth or fifth surge, depending on how you're counting them. But here we are again. And so it was appropriate and time for our health department to revisit what guidelines we need to take to reduce this current surge.
Between August 26th and September 1st, test positivity rate in Oakland County marked at 6.7% out of 26,000 tests administered. That according to the MySafe Start Map info on the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services COVID-19 page, and the average weekly case jump goes up by 137.6 cases from the previous 1 week period to 1,734 average cases per week during that period between August 26th and September 1st. We're joined by David Coulter. He is the executive of Oakland County with us on the MegaCast. And Dave, as your health department in Oakland County, as your office, as the Board of Commissioners, as the entire county leadership as a whole was approaching ultimately this decision being put in place as a health order by the health department, what discussions were going down with school district administrators, with teachers, with educators, and with medical officials to determine whether this was the best move for students here in Oakland County?
Yeah, that's a great question, because we were in regular weekly and even more than weekly conversation with educators, in particular the school districts across Oakland County, as well as our intermediate school district, the ISD as it's referred to. We were in constant communication with them. And I can tell you, Tyler, that for the last 6 to 8 weeks, they have been encouraging us to make some sort of universal order. The governor had decided, and the state health department had decided, that unlike last year, they weren't going to do a statewide health order on this topic, and they left it up to local school boards or local health departments. And boy, our school boards were just really on the hot seat. And what we heard from them all the time was, we're elected members of a school board, or we're superintendents who know how to educate your kids. We're not health experts. We would like this kind of guidance. So we heard from them regularly. I can tell you that there hasn't been a single school superintendent that I'm aware of in Oakland County who has said that they disagreed with this health order. And in fact, I think what it does is it gives them some predictability. Now they know how to proceed. Now they know how to open up their schools and their buildings safely, keeping kids in the classroom. And so I think it's reduced a lot of the confusion that was across our county at the school board level, for sure.
We're joined by Dave Coulter. He is the Oakland County executive with us on the MegaCast. We're speaking currently about the universal mask mandate put in place by the Oakland County Health Division on August 24th. That applies to all K through 12 schools, pre-K through 12 schools, my apologies, here in Oakland County. And Dave, last night at the Oakland County Board of Commissioners meeting, we heard from a lot of students, a lot of parents, a lot of educators, others in the general population of Oakland County who gave their thoughts on the mask orders. Now, many are in favor of these mask orders. Many have, or are at very least indifferent to them. But we heard a lot of chatter lately at many of our school board meetings, and luckily here in Oakland County, many of those have been very cordial, have been very forthright, and have not been combative. That's not necessarily the case everywhere here in Oakland County, nor in Michigan, nor in the United States, as this has become more of a pervasive issue over time. But here in Oakland County, we heard a lot of opposition to this mask order last night. What do you have to say to those in the county, our residents, who have expressed those concerns regarding their concerns about the mask mandate, as well as their opinions on their ability to make choices for what they believe is best for their children?
You know, I certainly respect everybody's opinion, and certainly everyone's right to protest and to express themselves. And people have been expressing themselves on this issue quietly, loudly, and in lots of different ways, physically, for weeks now. And so this has become a very contentious issue. But what I would say is it's only a contentious issue, in my view, through the lens of a political discussion. This has become politically contentious, and I understand that. And the Oakland County Republican Party has been a large source of the organizing behind the rallies that you're seeing, and so they've made this a political issue. And that's fine. That's politics, and that's their right to do. But if you look at this strictly from a public health issue, there is no debate. The science on this is clear. The medical community is clear. There isn't a public health officer in the state, in any county in the state, who doesn't think that masks help protect kids in school. That's just simply a fact. So when I have to make decisions like this, I consider this a public health decision over a political decision. I'm trying not to politicize this issue, even though there's a whole lot of folks who think that they can get advantage by doing that. And I say, you're welcome to do that. But we're going to look at the science. We're going to listen to the public health experts, and we're going to do everything we can to keep our kids in school and safe, because what we learned last year is remote learning. You know, that's a last resort choice. There's learning loss associated with that. There's developmental loss that's associated with that. And our number one goal is to keep our kids in the classroom. And if a simple tool like a mask can help do that, then that's good enough for me.
We're joined by Dave Coulter, the Oakland County Executive, with us today on the MegaCast. And Dave, in some cases last night, with some of those that were detractors of this mask mandate that was put in place on the 24th, one of them that was included in that meeting and was written about in the Oakland Press article we shared earlier was Evangeline Cobb, a freshman at Oakland Christian who does have Lyme disease, and expressed her issues with masks because as it relates to her medical condition. Are there provisions in place through this mask order for people to take steps to not evade the order, but to relieve themselves from the order due to the medical or any other religious purposes that may be in place? And how would they go about that if that is the case?
There are, actually. So I heard you read that quote, and I read that quote in the paper this morning. There are medical exemptions. So if she has a note from her doctor that says she has a medical condition that doesn't allow her to wear a mask, that is a reason for an exemption. There's also a religious exemption. And the protocols for how to apply for that are on our website. They're also on the state's website because it's the same exemption that has been in effect for 17 months. So there's no reason for someone who has a medical condition to have to ask to wear a mask. But I also heard that young lady, and I respect her, but I heard her say that this is the worst experience. And I would just argue that a lot worse experience is getting COVID, being in the hospital, being on a respirator. I just don't think she fully appreciates and understands the devastation that this disease can cause. And that's what keeps me up at night. And that's what this health order is meant to address.
We're joined by Dave Coulter, Oakland County Executive, with us today on the MegaCast. You can learn more about the mask mandate that is in place, as well as how to go about exemptions for your child or for yourself to the mask order for religious or medical purposes by going to our website, civiccentertv.com oakland.gov/coronavirus, clicking on the Oakland County link, which will take you to the Health Division's COVID-19 specific page where you can navigate to all that information that you may need. In other news, Dave, you had recently visited with the Jewish News in Farmington Hills to meet with the editorial team, including board member Mark Zosmer and Mark Davidoff, the board advisor. As we approach the high holidays for Judaism, we've also seen over the course of the last several months, not only as we've seen in the Asian and Pacific Islander community and in other Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities, there's been a rise in hate crimes. Was that one of the purposes of speaking with the Jewish News and with the Jewish community to address that issue? And then what other things were discussed as we're approaching this important time of the year for those that practice this faith, while also addressing issues of hate crimes, anti-Semitism, ethnocentrism, and others in our related issues in our communities?
Yeah, that is a great question, Tyler. We had a really nice conversation, and I've made it a point as county executive to try to reach out to lots of different groups here in the county. And you mentioned the Asian Pacific Americans, Black Americans, LGBTQ residents of our county, to build those relationships. But the Jewish community in Oakland County is so important, in part because it's headquartered primarily here in Oakland County. The largest number of Jewish residents in Michigan live in Oakland County, and it's a really critical, important community. And I want to hear their concerns. And as you expressed, one of their top concerns is security. We've seen synagogue bombings across the country. They've heard and seen the threats, and they're concerned about that. So we talked about that and how we can assist them with those concerns. And I can certainly use my bully pulpit, and I've tried to at every instance of that kind of hate speech to say that this is not acceptable. You know, you talked about some of the protests that have happened over the mask mandates. One of the things that's, in my opinion, absolutely intolerable is comparing a health order to Nazi Germany. And I just wish people would stop it. They did it again last night. They did it in Birmingham at the school board. And it's absolutely outrageous and inappropriate to try to compare an order of public health officials to the horror that happened in Nazi Germany. And it just shows you that the rhetoric in this country has gotten way too high. And I do think that as a county executive, I have a responsibility to try to lower that rhetoric and lower that temperature as it's aimed at any group of individuals in our county. And so that was certainly one of the reasons that I wanted to meet with them. But the other is that they're just a really important community in terms of the nonprofit organizations that are in the Jewish community that do so much health and human service work that's so important. We've partnered with them on a number of initiatives, and I just want to make sure that relationship is strong and that I understand their concerns and ask for their help in the work that I do as well.
We're joined by Dave Coulter. He is the Oakland County executive with us today on the MegaCast. And again, on that similar note, Oakland County, being that it's so religiously and ethnically diverse, what other work is being done at the Oakland County level to address some of these issues of racial inequities, of hatred in that is still unfortunately part of our communities? And on top of that, even almost or equally as important to that, representation from the number of these communities, religiously, ethnically, so on and so forth, in our government, because representation is so important for providing true insight and really leading change in these issues.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. So we've done a couple of things. The first thing I did immediately when I came into office, within the first month, is we passed the county's first ever comprehensive non-discrimination policy in Oakland County. We did not have a non-discrimination policy in Oakland County. We do now, and I'm proud of that. The other thing we did is we started what we call Welcoming Oakland. We're now part of the national network of welcoming counties. And what that says is that Oakland County is open for business for anybody of any nationality, any race, any ethnicity, any religious background, sexual orientation, who wants to come here and be successful and be a good member of this community. We welcome you. It's important, by the way, that we do that. You know, Oakland County over the past decade would have actually lost population had it not been for foreign-born residents. And yet, for some reason, too often immigrants and foreign-born people get stigmatized and demonized in this country and in this county. And it's not only the wrong thing morally to do, but it's stupid to do in terms of our growth and prosperity. It has been the diversity of our county that has made us stronger and more successful. And so I'm going to do everything that I can. And one of the things we've done is through this Welcoming Oakland group, we listen to their advice, we hear their concerns, we implement policies around the things that they're concerned about, security being at the top of that list for most groups. And so this is something that I feel very passionately about and will continue to work on as a county government.
We're joined by David Coulter. He is the executive of Oakland County, joining us today on the MegaCast. And you mentioned the population increase in Oakland County. A lot of that, and as we've seen from the census data so far, many of the population increases in counties and in local government, in local municipalities in the state of Michigan has been, as you mentioned, a result of increased diversity in these communities, and communities that are welcoming to a number of different ethnicities, a number of different religions, a number of different socioeconomic backgrounds. And one of those communities right here in our local area is one that you work in, over in Pontiac, which saw a population increase of more than 2,000 residents and continues to see a boom in the return of economic powerhouses in the job market and in a number of different industries, including in retail, certainly in automotive. What did you have to say about the continued resurgence of Pontiac and what that means in the context of Oakland County's future?
Yeah, I was so excited to see that population increase in Pontiac in particular, because a lot of urban areas across the country, including Detroit and some others, saw pretty significant population declines. But it tells me that we're on the right track with Pontiac. You know, I've made Pontiac a priority since I became executive. It's our county seat. It's important to our county. And I think it has an incredible amount of potential, additional potential, to be our urban thriving area that attracts young people and young families and companies and the like. And I think it can be a very thriving downtown, and it's on the right track. It really is. As you've said, they've attracted some really important companies. One of the largest companies in our county now is United Wholesale Mortgage. They have over 9,000 employees on their campus in Pontiac. Very exciting, and a host of other companies as well. So I'm very optimistic on Pontiac, and I was particularly pleased to see one of the ways that you judge if a community is moving in the right direction or not is by its population. There are other metrics that you use as well, but to see that population gradually increasing, and I think will continue to do so, is a very positive sign for our county seat.
We're joined by David Coulter, the Oakland County executive, with us today on the MegaCast. And David, just another few minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. I know we have taken up a lot of your time already. Recently, on August 10th, our local area lost an icon in Jack Aronson, founder of Garden Fresh, also a good friend of yours who began that business while you were the mayor of Ferndale. And I want to give you a chance to honor your good friend and someone that has had a big impact here in Oakland County over a number of years.
Oh, I so appreciate that. Jack and his wife Annette are just two of the most down-to-earth and dear people I've ever met. And if you don't know who they are and you don't know Garden Fresh, you know, when you go to the store and you get that Garden Fresh salsa or those chips or the hummus, that's them. And they started it, I think, in their house, but then eventually in the back of their little restaurant in Ferndale. And it grew into this global business because of the passion of Jack and Annette, and yet they never lost their roots. And it's just a great story. And I think one of the things I love about this story is that it does show that if you have passion and commitment and hard work and a good idea, you can be successful in this county. You can grow your idea. Oakland County's economic development folks help them with their business countless times along the way. We help them as a city. We will help you be successful. So this is a place where dreams can come true, and theirs came true. And I miss my dear friend, but his legacy lives on in his wife and his philanthropic work that they do, and in his great salsa and chips, frankly.
David, we appreciate your time. Thank you for being with us, giving us some insight on the mask mandate put in place by the Oakland County Health Division, and of course addressing those that have opinions on all sides of this argument and are willing to have those opinions expressed in the public forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tyler.